All right, we're going to take a look at big idea number 1, which is arithmetic sequences. And so here are the instructions. You should have a sheet of paper that looks like mine, but it's going to be slightly different. What you're going to do is watch this video while you're completing your sheet of paper. Then you're going to bring it to me to check so that you can get back to today's work. So you cannot move forward until you know this big idea. So I suggest that you really listen. If you miss something, just go ahead and rewind. Use the back arrow, press it twice, and then rewind 5 seconds. All right, so let's take a look at arithmetic sequence. You've done in 8th grade, you were talking about x and y, right? All we're going to do is just move that into 9th grade, and instead of saying x, we're going to use the letter n, and instead of saying y, we're going to use the letter a sub n. That's how you say that, a sub n. So if I wanted to read a sub 24, so a sub 24, it's read as the 24th term, and so you're going to go ahead and write this in yours. And what it means is when n is 24, aka x, okay, because n is x, right? So when n is 24, aka x is 24, what is a of 24, which is aka y? So basically, this is a fancy way of saying when x is 24, what is y? Okay, so if you didn't catch that, go ahead and rewind the video real quick and watch it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at 2 formulas, which is explicit and recursive for arithmetic sequences. And whatever I'm writing down, you're going to write down. So the first term occurs when n is equal to 1. Okay, the first term is when n is equal to 1. And that is written as a sub 1. Okay. And in this one, a sub 1. So it doesn't matter whether you're looking at explicit or recursive, a sub 1 means the first term. And it happens when n is equal to 1, aka x is equal to 1 if you're thinking about it in 8th grade. Okay, all right. Now, the nth term on both of them is this a sub n. So the nth term, oh, sorry, I didn't put it on again. It's this one. The nth term is this a sub n. So this is just another way of saying aka y. So I'm going to go aka y. The nth term is another way of saying y. All right, then another big thing that we need to know is the common difference. The common difference is this letter D. The common difference is this letter D right here. That is circle that piece. It is circle that piece. So if the common difference is -5, you replace plus D with -5. If it's +2, you replace plus D with +2. So again, the first term, okay, is a sub 1, and then the common difference is plus D. This just means the nth term minus 1. And this one means a sub n minus 1, which means the previous term, the one before. For right now, that's not going to be important. The 2 main things that you need to know is whether you're looking at explicit or recursive, you need to know where the first term is, which is a1. Okay, so you need to know where a1 is, which is the first term, where x equals 1. And then the second thing is you need to know what the common difference is. And the common difference is that plus d. Okay, so those are 2 main things that you need to know when you're looking at both of them. Now, let's bring this into 8th grade. Common difference is the same exact thing as slope. So go ahead and draw that arrow. These 2 things are exactly the same. Okay, so slope is your m, not your x, just the m piece. And then your y-intercept is your plus b. Now, your y-intercept happens when x is equal to 0. Okay, so a little bit different than my first term. My first term is where it happens is 1. And then for my 8th grade, like as I'm supposed to be, my y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So our big idea here, and you just need to star this or do something so that you understand common difference and slope are exactly the same thing. What that means is if I ever have an equation and I see my slope right here next to the x, right, that tells me my common difference for my sequences might be. We've talked about the basics. Let's talk about the 3 types of questions that I could give you. These right here will be the notes on how to put it into Desmos. I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to look at a pattern, a sequence, and a table. So 3 different things that I can give you to ask. We're going to start off with a pattern. And as I do my question, we're going to use the steps that I'm using to do my question to do your question. So the first thing we're going to do is this. Whenever we want to put something into Desmos, right, you notice that I need both x and y. I need 2 things to put in. Right now, I don't have 2 things to put in. All right, so the first thing we're going to ever do if we're given a pattern is we're going to start off by creating a table. Okay. The x term in 8th grade, remember, is the nth term in ninth. And then the y term in 8th grade is the a sub f term, okay, in sequences. All right, so what we're going to do is, this is my first picture, so I'm going to label it 1. So my n is equal to 1. This is my second picture, I'm going to label it 2. This is my third picture, I'm going to label it 3. And please do the same thing for yours. Now, for the a sub n is how many dots do I see in my first picture? I see 2, 4, 6, 7. I see 7 dots. In my second picture, I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. In my third picture, I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. All right? So now I have two things that I can put into decimals. Now I'm just going to read this to you because I have to start talking to you in ninth grade and not 8th grade. So this says when n is equal to 1, a sub n is equal to, a sub 1 is equal to 7. When n is equal to 2, a sub 2 is equal to 10. When n is equal to 3, a sub 3 is equal to 13. All right, so let's go ahead and put that in. So as I put in my table, you put in whatever your pattern is. And please make sure that you do these next things. You first have to zoom in because you have to make sure when you click this flag, it goes through all of your points. If it doesn't go through all of your points, something has happened because an arithmetic sequence is very similar to a linear function of a linear equation, and it is a straight line. So if you don't get a straight line with it going through your dots, stop this video right now, rewind it a little bit, re-put it in to make sure that you're putting it in correctly. All right, once I put it in, the other thing I'm always going to do is hit the notebook and then hit the settings and table. That gives me all the information that I need in order to answer this question. So now we can go ahead and answer this question. What is my first term? So remember that my first term is when n is equal to 1, aka x is equal to 1, and it's a sub 1. A sub 1 means the first term. All right, so now that I know that, I come to my table and I look for the number 1. Okay, so my first term is 7. So I'm going to say my first term, a sub 1, is equal to 7. What is yours? All right, now that I know that, I need to answer what is D. What does D mean again? Common difference. And what is common difference in 8th grade? Common difference in 8th grade is the very, very same thing as slope. And what is slope? Slope is the letter, or the number, sorry, and the symbol, number and symbol, right next to the x. So all I got to do is find my equation, and right next to the x on the left is my slope. So here's my equation right here. So right there, my slope is positive 3. And if it's negative 3, make sure you carry over the negative. So mine is positive 3. So go ahead and write whatever yours is. Mine is positive 3. So I've got my first term is 7, and my common difference is 3. All right, now it's telling me write a function, not an equation, write a function. So instead of y, I'm just going to write what? F of x. So f of x is equal to 3x plus 4. That is my function. Okay. What is your function? All right, now remember there are two sequence formulas that we could have for arithmetic, recursive or explicit, right? So all of them are very similar in that they both have the a sub 1 in them right here. And so that's what we have to do. So since we now know a sub 1 is 7, my first term is 7, I'm going to see wherever a sub 1 is, I'm going to put 7. So my first term is 7. For the explicit, where do you see that? A sub n equals. So you see over here, a sub n equals, and then my 7. Okay, so it's just now positioning the different things. All right, now that we know that, we're going to move on to the next one. So what is my common difference? The common difference is my slope, which is 3. And where do I put common difference in explicit? I put it right after. So it's right here. I replace the plus 3 with plus 3. And if yours is negative, then negative. So here's my explicit. I go 7, then I go plus D. So mine is positive 3. So I'm going to write plus 3. You're going to write whatever yours is. And if it's minus, write minus. Do not write plus and minus. So just carry the sign with it. All right. Then all that's left after that is n minus 1 for explicit. What about recursive? Where's my D? So here's my D right here. And what I'm looking for is right after the a sub n minus 1. So after the equal to, right after a sub n minus 1 is D. Well, I didn't write it out for you, so you got to write it out. So a sub n equals is what we have so far, so I got to write this part out. So a sub, and make sure that this is small, don't make it the same size because it's a subscript. And then the plus D, and what is my D again? Mine is positive 3. and then you're writing whatever yours is. And that's all there is to it. So to write explicit, you just need to know what A1 and what B is, and then write parentheses n minus 1. To write recursive, you say you have to state your first term. So A sub 1 is this, and then write the formula A sub n equals A sub n minus 1, and then whatever your common difference is. And then finally, the last thing that I could ask you is, once you write a function, a recursive, or an explicit formula, what is the 24th term? So remember, we wrote this in your notes. A sub 24 just means when x is 24, what is y? So to find that, we're going to come to the table here, right? Not the one we entered, because if I do it here, it's not going to do anything, but the one after my equation. So this is telling the calculator, hey, I want to know what A 24. So click the last number, which is 2. Hold down the enter key. Just hold it down for like a long time until you find the number you're looking for. So I'm looking for what? 24, which is what? 76. So what does that mean? My 24th term is equal to 76. And that's it. Each question is going to have the same process. We're just going to put in the table, hit the flag, zoom fit, copy the equation, make that a table, and then look for whatever it is that you're looking for. All right, so now I'm going to go through the next one a little bit faster. So now I have a sequence which is very similar to the pattern. Again, I put in a table. I don't have two things, so I have to create two things. How do I create two things? By making this a table. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a table, and through each number, I'm just going to do that. So this is my first number, my second one, my third one, my fourth one. Okay, so this is my nth term, aka x, right? This is my a sub nth term, aka y. And now we have a table. We're just going to go ahead and put it in. So please go ahead and make yours a table and then put it in the calculator. So it should not be exactly mine, because you're doing your question in order for you to get back to the regular lesson. All right, boom, put it in. What was the thing that we did before? We went ahead and hit zoom fit. And if it doesn't fit after zoom fit, then hit flag. All right, so, and it didn't quite, I just have to scroll down. All right, so I just have to scroll down to check. Did my 3 points, and I think I was doing this one. Did my 4 points, are they perfectly fitting? Yes. If I did that step, then I'm good. I can move on. If not, rewind the video and make sure you put in 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, however many your pattern has, and then make sure you put in yours. Now that I have that, what do? I copy the table and make that in table. Now I'm ready to answer whatever questions you have. So let's talk about it again. What is my first term? Right? A sub 1 means my first term. So to get my first term, I look at the table. My first term is negative 3. So you're going to go find your first term from the table. My common difference is my slope. What is my slope? My slope is 5. So again, just whatever is next to the equal sign, positive or negative. So mine is positive. If it's negative for you, write negative. All right, now write my function. So here's my function. The only difference in 8th grade is you have y equals. In 9th grade, the function has 2 variables. All right, so it says 5x minus 8. All right, so write your function, please. All right, now we're going to write recursive and explicit. To write recursive and explicit, I need my a sub 1 and b, which I already have. Now I just look at what it looks like. So here's my recursive. I write a1 equals. So a1 equals negative 3 for me, right? Now you're writing for you. And then it has a sub n. What comes after a sub n? It has a sub n equals a sub n minus 1, and then whatever the common difference is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So a sub n minus 1, and please make sure when you write this minus 1, it's a subscript, like it's smaller than the rest of the letters. And then whatever my common difference is, which is what? Positive 5. So mine is positive 5, so I'm going to say plus 5. If yours is negative, then you're going to say minus whatever. And that's it. I just did recursive. Now I'm going to do explicit. So I'm going to come to explicit. Right? What's explicit? A sub n equals first term, common difference, and minus 1. So let's do that. First term. My first term is negative 3. My common difference is 5 and minus 1. And that's it. The last question I could ask you is find the 24th term, find the 15th term, find the 20th term, whatever it is. I just come to my table, the very bottom of the table. I hold down enter until I get to the number I want. In this case, I want 24. It is 112. So my 24th term in this pattern is 112. which means if I continued writing it out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 24, that number would be 120. And that's it. All right, so I'm going to do the last one, which is a table. Okay, similar process. The whole thing is just the same thing, just depending on what the question is. In this case, I don't even need to say the first term is this because they've given me the numbers. So if they've given me both, then I put in both. They've given me both x and y, so all I do is I copy it down, being very careful to make sure I copy exactly what it says. So go ahead and copy your table. Pause the video as you copy. Okay, double check your numbers and make sure that it's exactly this. All right, hit the flag, zoom fit. Does it go through all of the dots perfectly? Yes. If it doesn't, you have miscopied something. Start again. What do I do after that? I put in my table, I copy my function or my equation, sorry, and then I click settings and make that into a table. Now I'm able to answer any question. So now I'm not even going to reference my notes anymore because at this point you should know it. I only need a table and my equation in order to write any recursive, explicit, or function notation. So what is my first term? I go to my table. From my table, I get my first term. What's my first term? Negative 11. What's my common difference? For my common difference, I go to my slope, which is next to the x. Do not forget if it's positive or negative. In my case, it's negative 3. What is my function? My function is the same thing as my equation. Instead of my y equals, it's f of x or g of x or h of x. So that's what I'm writing down. So you're writing down yours. Okay. All right, write my recursive. My recursive, it says a1 is equal to, what is a1 equal to? Negative 11. And then it's a sub n, then a sub n minus 1, and then whatever your common difference is. What's my common difference? Negative 3. So negative 3. So you'll put it in whatever yours is. A sub n minus 1, and then your common difference. For my explicit, it goes my first term, which is negative 11. So you write down your first term. Then it goes common difference, and my common difference is negative 3. So you write down your common difference. If it's positive, write positive. And then just parentheses and minus 1. And that's it. The last step is to find the 24th term. You just go to the bottom of the table, you hold down enter until you see whatever term I'm asking for. So in this case, I'm asking for 24. It's going to be negative 3. All right, so we've just repeated the process for 3 different types of questions. Now bring your sheet of paper. Let me see if you're ready to move on.
Let's practice.